But the big story is Matthew Judon, who decided after saying, I'm going to play for the contract, even if I don't like the contract about $6.5 million with another million in roster bonuses, showed up for the first day of padded practices on Monday, not wearing any pads, wearing slides, in fact, brought his phone out there, had his baseball hat on. I'm sure you've read the comments by now, the stories rather, but Judon had a little discussion with Gerard Mayo that didn't seem to go very well. They had a discussion later on. Judon left the field, came back, went to the general manager, Elliot Wolf, and his henchman, Matt Groh, and has not been with the team. They're off on Wednesday. Hasn't been with the team, Will, but it's interesting now because it was a very public act. I've said this before. I think he embarrassed himself. I think he embarrassed his first-year head coach. I think he embarrassed his first-year general manager. There are reports that there has been another contract offer extended. He jumped right in on Twitter on Wednesday and said, that's a lie. That hasn't happened. How do you view this from the outside looking in, and what do you think the Patriots should do with Judon?
Yeah, there's a couple different things. We'll get to a bunch of the different kind of holdouts and hold-ins, and, Judon's essentially holding in here. And one of the kind of interesting things is, you mentioned embarrassing, Bill Wolf himself potentially and Gerard Mayo. This isn't just a first-year head coach that Judon has no relationship with. He's been his defensive coordinator for the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. And that's, to me, what makes it even a little bit more tricky and kind of really digging his feet in. I had thought, for some reason in my head, I always thought Matt Judon was like 28 going in his age 29 season. I didn't realize he's turning 32 in 2 weeks here. And for whatever reason, sometimes guys in the NFL, Ezekiel Elliott's 27 years old and you're like, what? And then other guys are much older than you realize. And from a Patriots perspective and from Judon, you understand Judon wanting to get one big final payday. We'll talk about, guys like Reddick and Trent Williams and other guys that are, entering their age 30 or above season and wanting those big deals. The issue with the Judon Patriots thing for me, and this is why I think he ends up getting moved at some point, is if I was the Patriots, I'd move Matt Judon, not because he's not an awesome player. He's probably their best player. He would be crucial to help try to keep this team competitive with a potential rookie quarterback starting at some point this year. The timelines don't match up for Judon's peak productivity and what the Patriots are looking to do, right? They're a team that you assume in 2025 will try to be very competitive. They'll probably have a bunch of cap space. They'll be able to acquire different picks. They were probably a team that'll pick in the top 5, realistically, unless Drake May hits the ground running and that defense keeps them competitive. They're probably going to be one of the bottom dwellers, at least this year. They can show signs. It's not they're going to be screwed forever. It's just this year is going to be a step back. And to me, I feel like if you pay Judon now, and even if you gave him a 2-year extension, by the time he's getting his big money, does it line up with how good you're trying to be with a rookie quarterback? Yeah. And again, you don't want to lose talent, but is he worth, I don't know, I'm ball spitting. Did they get a 2 and a 4 back next year from, a competitive team and say, hey, now we have 4, 5, 6 top 50 picks plus cap space, plus a rookie or a guy going into year 2. Drake May showed signs. We feel good about Gerard Mayo. We feel good. Christian Barmore back off of what he's dealing with. Christian Gonzalez in year 3. Like that to me is probably more of the smart play. But again, there's the emotion of it. Judon's been an awesome Patriot. He's a good player, and it's kind of hard for an organization that's been, even in bad years, still very competitive to kind of just fully embrace that tank mode.
Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code CLNS and get $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed.
Yeah, I look at it, and I was one who said I would be willing to extend him even beyond this year. But what are we talking about monetarily? And that's the thing that I've been reporting is that there's a huge gap between the two sides. And such to the point where I don't know how you bridge the gap. And I think that's why you saw it play out the way it did on the first day at pads, where I think the frustration has set in and the reality has set in, like, man, I'm here and they're here. And that's, how do we find a way to meet in the middle? What I was hoping all along was at the very least, you could say, hey, Matthew, you made 15-ish last year. You're on the books, as I said, he's on the books for 14 and change with the cap, but in terms of actual cash, if everything goes well this year, he's making $7.2 million, I believe. Like, Can we double that? Can we give you $10 million extra dollars or something with reachable incentives to kind of get you to that point? And then you're free to go. You have an awesome year. You hit free agency. Who knows? Maybe we love you and thought we saw so much we want to give you a big extension, or you just go into free agency and you try to cash in one last time. But it feels like now this has become so public and he is becoming defiant. I mean, I understand the day and age. I'm not the old guy yelling at a cloud, but like, stay off Twitter. Like, but to me, that's the point. Like, if you've gone on Twitter now and you're pushing this thing forward,
he's all in.
It's like, yeah, he's all in. Like, basically, pay me or trade me. And it feels like they're dug in and saying, we're only going to go so far. It's not as if they haven't offered. But like I said, his presentation to them versus what they're presenting to him is, you know, I mean, would you pay someone who's about to turn 32 who missed 13 and a half games last year, albeit for a bicep, not for his legs? His legs, I think, are still good. Would you pay him 2 years and $50 million?
Probably
that's something
not.
Will Parkinson would do. Yeah.
Nah, probably not. And I think that's something, and we'll talk about this with the Jets, but like, it's the same. It's a different conversation with Son Reddick. He's younger. He's an edge rusher. That sack totals are they're the fourth best in the league over the last 4 years. But it's, again, the conversation of, does the timeline match up? With the Reddick situation, it matches up with the Jets. That's why it's frustrating. The Patriots, I keep coming back to this, it's the timeline of when you're trying to win and capitalizing. And like, if you're the Patriots in 2 years, do you want to have the Von Miller contract? If you're the Bill, you know what I mean? Like, that's where they're at, and they can afford to do it, right? Again, they're not paying a lot of people, and the Patriots haven't really paid a lot of people in a very long time in terms of that big money. But, you know, you just look to yourself down the road, and it's like, all right, do we want to try to – the Patriots, in my head at least, and again, you know this better than me, they're probably trying to say, get one more year out of Uche and Judon and this group, and then decide if Uche is awesome again, like the way he was 2 years ago, we'll pay him. If Judon looks fantastic, we pay him. You just wonder, can they do something similar to, you know, raise some of the cash this year, give him something? I don't know. I don't think this ends well, and it just doesn't feel like – there's other situations. Ayuk, you know, he was seen, you know, we'll get to that again, but, you know, dapping up John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan at practice today, and it feels like a guy they want to have around. It's just trying to figure out that number. This kind of feels like, I don't know that Matt Judon also probably really wants, at some point, does he not go, I want to go try to win one more shot at winning a title when I'm in my prime, or at least close to it. Go trade me to Washington, and we're going to go to a young team that, like, that division, someone always wins every year, and me and Montez, you know, are the Bears, something like, I don't know. I just
the Bears is the one. I think I texted you that one. Just if we're at this point where now all of a sudden he's dangled out there, the Bears have been looking for someone opposite.
Yeah,
they trade Sweat.
I was going to say they were in on Bryce Huff. They were in on Bryce Huff early in the year, and that's after paying, you know, Sweat. So it's not as if this is a team that wasn't pursuing edge rushers in the free agency market as well.
And they've been a popular pick to maybe slide into the postseason. Well, if they really believe that in Chicago, if they really believe Caleb is going to be able to handle that group, and then defensively, that's what they need is another edge rusher, then that's a phone call worth making. And I'm curious, I'm still thinking like it's a 4 or a 5, but who knows? Maybe somebody looks at it and says, all right, we talked to him. He's good coming here. We're going to work on the deal or whatever. And maybe the price becomes a little bit higher in terms of what they get in return.